Mr. President, it's been 511 days. 511 days since the United States Senate passed bipartisan legislation to reform our broken immigration system. 14 Republicans joined the Democrats in supporting a measure which covered what I think are the major challenges facing America when it comes to immigration in the 21st century. There was an amendment adopted by Senator Corker, I believe Senator Hoeven co-sponsored, and this amendment would have strengthened our border security to unprecedented levels. You see, at this moment in time, we have more federal law enforcement officials on the border between the United States and Mexico than the combined population of all other federal law enforcement agencies. It is a massive commitment which would have been enhanced even more by the Comprehensive Immigration Reform Bill. For those border state senators, we would have reached the point where from Galveston to San Diego, we would have literally had available a law enforcement agent every half mile, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It is a massive investment, and it passed the United States Senate 511 days ago. That same bill addressed some serious issues about agricultural workers in Illinois, California, Texas, and all across the nation. Growers are telling us that they're having a difficult time bringing in the workers who will do the backbreaking, hard physical labor necessary for agriculture. This bill addressed it. In fact, it was endorsed by both growers as well as those who do the work. It's an amazing political achievement. It also addressed the issue of H-1Bs. Why in the world do we bring the best and brightest from around the world to the United States for advanced degrees, advanced education, and then welcome them to leave, when if they stayed and worked to create jobs in America and new businesses and new innovations, we could build our own economy? The bill addressed it. But as important as all those things, the bill addressed 11 million undocumented people in America. 11 million, and that's just a guess and an estimate. But the bill said that those who were here undocumented, who had been here for several years, could step up, register with the government, pay their filing fee, submit themselves to a background check, pay their taxes, and then be reviewed annually for years to make sure that they were still complying with the laws of the United States. They wouldn't qualify for government benefits or programs during this period of time, but they could work their way to legal status. That bill passed the Senate on a bipartisan basis, 68 votes, and the bill went over to the House of Representatives, where sadly, it languished. Nothing happened. The Speaker of the House refused to call the bill. In fact, he refused to call any aspect of the bill. They refused to call it in committee for any consideration or debate, and they let it languish. There were times when the House Republican leadership tempted the White House and others by saying, well, maybe now we can call it. They never, ever did. 511 days passed. Here we are today. And this evening, President Obama is going to announce an executive order to address immigration. He's waited patiently. America's waited patiently for the Republicans in the House of Representatives to step forward and to accept this responsibility, and they have refused. They have refused to fix this broken immigration system, and you can bet that as soon as the president issues his executive order, there'll be a chorus of complaint that this president has gone too far using his executive authority to address this issue. You won't hear from the critics the facts. You won't hear from the critics that every president since President Dwight David Eisenhower, I believe 11 different presidents, Democrats and Republicans, have issued executive orders relating to immigration. President George Herbert Walker Bush basically said we are not going to prosecute 1.5 million undocumented in America by executive order, prosecutorial discretion. That is the kind of thing which we've come to expect from presidents, and we've expected Congress to complain about. That has continued. Here's what we believe President Obama will announce today. The details are just starting to emerge in press reports. He is going to announce that we are going to push for accountability in immigration. Senator Marco Rubio was on the bipartisan panel that put together the Comprehensive Immigration Reform Bill. He said something that was very prescient, and I want to refer to it at this moment. He said, for those who criticize amnesty, doing nothing is amnesty in the United States for those who are here undocumented. Doing nothing is amnesty. What President Obama is going to suggest instead of amnesty is accountability. Accountability. And here's what it will say. For those who have children who are American citizens and they've been here at least 5 years, they have a chance to step forward, to register with the government, to pay the filing fee for processing, to submit themselves to a criminal background check, and to pay their taxes. And the president says if you will do that under his order, it's my understanding, it will say you can legally work in America. You don't become a citizen, you don't have legal status beyond the work permit, but you don't have to fear deportation. You are down the list. You are not a dangerous person who should be deported. The highest priority of those who will be deported are those with criminal records, and they should be. There's no room in the United States for anyone, let alone undocumented, who come here and commit crime, period. Secondly, if you have repeat offenders and those who have violated the legal system, they'll be in the second category. This third category of those who meet the criteria I've mentioned will be given their chance. Now, this is accountability. This really says to those who wish to stay, if you will play by these rules, we will give you a chance to stay and work. And what's the reason? We want to deport felons. We don't want to deport families. We want to deport criminals. We don't want to deport children. We're going to focus our efforts on the borders on those who are trying to come across and those who are here and should leave. That means more resources will be put into enforcement. And it also means that those that are here are going to be registered. We'll know who they are, where they're working, and we'll know they're paying their taxes to stay in this country. The alternative, from the Republican point of view, for 511 days is to do nothing. That's an unacceptable alternative. But there's a better alternative even to an executive order, and the president will be the first to say, and that's that this Congress of the United States on a bipartisan basis rolls up its sleeve and tackles this issue. We should. That's why we're elected. To do nothing, as the House has done for 511 days, is unacceptable. To stand by the sidelines and criticize this president for using his executive authority, the same executive authority used over and over again by presidents of both political parties in the field of immigration, is not constructive. And there's one other thing that's even worse. Some members of the other party are suggesting they're prepared to shut down the government of the United States over this issue. If the president uses his legal authority, they threaten to shut down the government of the United States. We saw that last year. The junior senator from Texas took the floor and said he was going to close down the government over the issue of Affordable Care Act. It was a terrible strategy. A lot of innocent people were hurt. It cost our government and our economy dearly. It was a politically desperate act, which I hope will not be repeated ever again. Certainly not when it comes to the issue of immigration. If there was ever a time for us to stand together, both political parties, and solve a problem, this is it. Standing on the sidelines, complaining, which we've heard over and over again from the House Republican leadership, and we continue to hear when it comes to the president's executive order, is not the kind of constructive policy the American people need. I applaud the president. He's going to take a lot of grief for this, for using his executive power. But thank goodness he's stepping up and addressing the problem. Where others have walked away from it, ignored it, come up with every excuse on earth, he is addressing the problem directly. And now it's time for us in the United States Congress to do the same thing. We're going to come back after Thanksgiving. We'll be here at least for 10 days. Speaker Boehner, leader of the Republican House, has the authority to instantly call on the floor of the House this bipartisan immigration bill, which passed the Senate. There's no excuse. If he's going to criticize the president for using his power to solve a problem, then the Speaker should use his power to address that same problem. Call the comprehensive immigration reform bill before we leave at the end of this year. Bring it up for a vote in the House. I think it'll pass. And if it passes, and we do by legislation, a much broader review and change in immigration reform bill, we will have done what we were elected to do. We will have served this nation. We will have set out to repair this broken immigration system. Mr. President, I yield the floor.